and were led by their ignorance to take him for God, and that they were worshippers of the Son and the devil. It is inconceivable to us, if we apply the principles of modern criticism to what we know of the character of Islamic historians, that they should write the life of one who is responsible for the rise of a sect, the foundation of whose religion is the devil, and not curse him and the devil with him 100 million times. Well, that's not true. If you read Bukhari, Muslim, some of these others, definitely the writers of some of these would say that some of these contemporary prophets were prophets of devils. Well, Muhammad was prophets of, the prophet of the law. So, but they still spoke respectively that, this is his experience. We know he's a Kahin, we know he's this, but, they weren't insulting, they just didn't accept his religion. And there was a few individuals. One individual died, but there was at least 3 individuals that were prophets other than Allah during the time of Muhammad. So, that stuff's recorded. And by the way, none of them were denied the freedom to do such. Such are the theories that have been advanced in discussion relating to the religious origin of the Yazidi sect, and we have found not only that they are far from reaching the solution of the problem, but also that the method they employ does not seem to be the proper one for solving such a question. The traditions of the Yezidis, that they are descended from Yazid bin Muawiyah, which has been accepted as the fact by some Western scholars, is only a myth without historical justification. Perhaps they were trying to upset the Shia, right? As to the Christian tradition, all that can tell us is that some Yezidis might have been, at one time, Christians, but as to who was the founder of the sect, it gives us no light. While perhaps there was a bunch of apostate Christians who joined in and kept some elements of Christianity in their version. Likewise, all we can learn from the theory advocated by the second school is that some phases of the Persian religion might have survived with that of the devil worshippers, which Maziasnahe Zarathustra responded to devil worshippers, so the devil worshippers were around before that particular prophet. We may admit, I think that some Yezidis are Persians in their origin, but as to who was the originator of their religion, this theory helps us not a whit. So also, we have found that the relation of Sheikh Adi to this sect is not that of a founder. He is only one of many whom were classed as deities. And the view of the Muslim scholars, while the Yazidi myth regards the sect as descendants of Adam, of Yazid bin Muawiyah, are of a colony from the north, while the Christian tradition of the east traces them to a Christian origin, while among the Western Orientalists, some say they were founded by Yazid bin Muawiyah, others that they are of Persian origin, etc. The Islamic dogmatics, on the other hand, assert that they are murtadun, that is, apostates from Islam, while Islam believes that all faiths other than Islam are apostasy from Islam. And if you look at the terms body shayateen on one hand and Islam on the other, and in between is the mixture of the two faiths. Mazda Yasnahe, Davas Yasna. Same thing, different languages. To understand the significance of this term, I must mention several words used for those who are considered as covering the truth according to Islamic theology. Kafir is one who hides or denies the truth. I've seen people, they're like, well, I've literally been told by people to my face, in person, that, Islam makes the most sense to them. And they'll accept Islam at some point, but they have some things to do first. So, Mushrik is one who ascribes companions to God. Also ascribes things like gender and, other sorts of limits. Mulhed is one who has deviated from the truth. Zandik is one who asserts his belief in the doctrine of dualism. Munafiq is one who secretly disbelieves in the mission of Muhammad, or one who kind of takes his religion from different areas. It's not quite to the extent of actually being considered a disbeliever or misbeliever, would be a better word to coin. Dahre is an atheist. Watani is somebody that just accepts the ethnic ways of their people. Finally, a murtad is one who apostatizes from Islam. Surah 4 will tell you what Islam teaches about the apostates in two different groups. The Yezidis are put in the category of those who, after once accepting the religion of Islam, later rejected it. One author of those whose writings I had access, in an explicit statement, regards these people as apostates. I refer to Amin al-Amari al-Mausili. After praising Sheikh Adi, the Mosulian goes on to say, God tried him, Adi, by a calamity, to wit, the appearance of al-Murtadun, called the Yezidis, because they pretended to be descended from Yazid. Another Mohammedan scholar that mentions, another Muslim scholar that mentions these people is Yasin al-Khatib al-Mari al-Mawsila. Writing on Sheikh Adi and praising him as the former writer does, he says, he was versed in the knowledge of the divine law. God tried him by calamity, by raising up the Yezidis, who pretended that the Sheikh is God, and who have made his tomb the object of their pilgrimage. I've seen it mention the case with a lot of Sufi leaders that you can't really blame them for what their followers did. And there's evidence that kind of, prove that he left enough for that sort of thing. Of course, it doesn't help sometimes when they have secret sin and that gets let known, and everybody's been saying, may God sanctify his secret, and what are they supposed to do when they uncover that sort of thing? But again, it should be about the teachings per se. Do the teachings work? Are the teachings the right teachings? And anyways, we're the Yezidis here. While these authors throw some light on the subject that the sect in question derives its appellation from a historic person, they leave us entirely in the dark as to who that person was. As the Arab historians mention, many prominent men who bore the name Yezid. That obscurity regarding the person of the founder of the sect is made clear by one whose work is equally, if not more, authoritative than any other Muslim scholar on matters pertaining to religious and philosophical sects. The authority is Muhammad Ash-Shahrastani. He is the only Muslim writer that I could reach that, in clear language, traces this most interesting sect to its founder. The Yezidis are followers of Yazid bin Unaysa, who said that he kept friendship with the first Muhakama before the Azariqa, and he separated himself from those who followed after them, with the exception of al-Abadiyah, for with these he kept friendship. He believed that God would send an apostle from among the Persians and would reveal to him a book that is already written in heaven, and would reveal the whole book to him at one time. As a result, he would leave the law of Muhammad, the chosen one, may God bless and save him, and follow the religion of the Sabaeans, mentioned in the Quran. But these are not the Sabaeans, who are found in Haran and Wasit. But Yazid kept friendship with the people of the book, who recognized the chosen one as a prophet, even though they did not accept his religion. And he said that the followers of the ordinances are among those who agree with him, but that others are hiding the truth and give companions to God, and that every sin, small or great, is idolatry. Well, yeah, that's taking it too far. It would be better to say something like, disbelief can be attached to sin. So if you think that's, but even disbelief is not always shirk. It is clear then, the misassociation. It is clear then that Ash-Shahrastani finds the religious origin of this interesting people in the person of Yazid bin Unaysa. He calls them Ashab, i.e., his followers, a term by which he designates the relation between a sect and its originator. Al-Haratiyya he describes as Ashab al-Harat and al-Hafiziyya. Ashab, Hafiz, and so on. We are to understand, therefore, that to the knowledge of the writer, bin Unaysa is the founder of the Yazidi sect, which took its name from him. Muhammad Ash-Shahrastani states, also in a logical way, the theological views of the head of the Yezidis. Yazid, he says, is on the positive side in sympathy with the first Muhakama before Azriqa. Now, the first Muhakama is an appellative applied to the Muslim schismatics called al-Khawarij, because they disallowed the judgment of the Hakaman. The two judges, namely Abd Musa al-Ash'ari and ibn al-As, and said that judgment belongs to God alone. Well, there was more to it than that. The Khawarij and al-Azriqa were a heretical sect called al-Khawarij, or Haruriyya. I'm not certain about this transliteration. If there was Arabic or something, I could read it. So named in relation to Nafi ibn al-Azraq. They asserted that Ali committed an act of infidelity by submitting his case to arbitration, and that the slaying of him by Ibn Muljama was just, and they declared that the companions of the Prophet were guilty of infidelity. Yazid, moreover, is said to have been in sympathy with al-Abadiyya, a sect founded by Abdullah ibn Ibad, who taught that if a man commits a kabira or great sin, He's an infidel and not a believer. Okay, that's one of the things that sets these Khawarij apart. It is evident, therefore, that according to this exposition, the Yazid in question was one of al-Khawarij, and their principle is expressly attributed to him. Every sin, small and great, is idolatry. According to this, it might be inferred that the Yezidis were originally a Khawarijite subsect. They still hold to the Khawarijite principle. Their position to the Ottoman government that we've seen mentioned before. As we said, some Muslim writers, other than Ashahar Astani, regard them as apostate Muslims. Well, if they've apostated, they're not Muslim anymore. So the way he's putting this together is going to be confusing in some ways. Shahrastani himself classes them with the Muslim heretics. Now al-Khawarij were the first to rebel against Ali at Harura, a certain suburb of al-Kufa, from which is distant 2 miles. They are called also al-Harariya because they first assembled there and accepted the doctrine that government belongs only to God. And one sect of al-Khawarij was Anasabiya, and made it a matter of religious obligation to bear up violent hatred to Ali. Such is the place of Ben Unasa among the Muslim heretics, but this is only one side of his religious system. There is another side to Yazid's doctrine. He held that God would send an apostle from Persia, to whom he would reveal a book already written in heaven. That apostle was to be an opponent of the prophets of Islam, in that he would leave Muhammad's religion and follow that of the Sabaeans mentioned in Al-Quran. These are referred to by Muhammad together with the Christians and Jews in 3 different places in the book. One such reference is in Surah 2:59. And, I'm just going to say the English. Some people, this is a Yazidi program, and some people, something about you can chant in any language, but if you chant something from the Quran, some people are like, oh, well, okay, but they who believe, as well as Jews, Christians, and Sabaeans, whoever believeth in God in the last day, and do that which is right, shall have the reward with their Lord. So the word for Jew and Christian, those words go beyond a little bit what we might consider Jew and Christian in their implication. Sabaeans can mean what we've referred to as far as one of the Persian types of religion that kind of eclectically attaches to it's sort of a religious eclectic. They find some good here, they search it out, they go over there, and but the some Persian syncretistic sort of thing, but it didn't originate that way, just like the other 2 listed there. Believe in God in the last day and do that which is right shall have their reward with their Lord. And Surah 5:73 also, those who believe, as well as Jews, Christians, Sabaeans, whoever of them believes in God in the last day and do that which is right, on them shall no fear come to them, neither shall they be put to grief. Well, if you're saying that something is the right belief, the right practice, why should anybody with it have, any issue? As far as they're upon that. In Surah 22, ayat 17, they who believe, as well as the Jews, the Sabaeans, and Christians, and the Magians, and those who join gods with God, verily God shall decide between them on the day of resurrection. So, leaving it up to God to judge between. But if we see something in that same, the first passage, learned about war was in that same chapter, 22, 39, and 40. And verse 39 and 40 has a word that means spiritual oratories. They're going to try to say, oh, well, it's only the rights of the Christians. No, it's everybody. Every religious minority, everybody's religious building. So even if you don't say this is the Persian prophet, but the enemies of the Persian prophets, I mean, as far as theology goes, you would have to say that that calls to protect their houses of worship, to protect their rights. Permitted people, as one might call them. In these passages, Muhammad seems to regard the Sabians of the Quran as believers in the true God and in the resurrection, at least that being present among them, right? And in Surah 22:17, he seems to distinguish them from the Magians and the polytheist. Hence we infer that the apostle to whom Yazid bin Unaysa says that he will come from the land of the Ajam, Persian, will identify himself with the religion of the Sabians. This implies that he will believe in the true God and the day of resurrection. But from some Arab writers, we learn more of these Sabian beliefs than the Prophet of Islam has mentioned. According to some of the Sabians, which were a sect of unbelievers who worshipped the stars secretly, but openly professed to be Christians. There's a lot of that going on, and what we're talking about is people acting like they're part of different faiths that they're not, according to others. But some of that is because they're so used to being persecuted, then another group comes in power, they're like, okay, I'm going to fake being like, maybe like a, maybe a bit heretical, but sort of, you don't have to come out of us. We're not that far distant from what you're holding to. According to others, they were of the religion of Sabi, the son of Seth, the son of Adam, while others said they resembled the Christians, except that their qibla was towards the south, from whence the wind blows. In the Camus, it is said that they were of the religions of Noah. Al-Bindawi says that some assert that they were worshippers of the angels, and others say that they were worshippers of the stars. Al-Bartuni calls the Manichaeans the Samarkand Sabians. Bar Hebraas asserts that the religion of the Sabians is the same as the ancient Chaldeans, commenting on Surah 2:8-59. Samakshari al-Kashaf says that the name Sabian comes from a root, meaning one who has departed from one religion to another religion. Hence, that's why the eclectics were, referred to. And the Sabians were those who departed from Judaism and Christianity and worshipped angels or whatever. On this same verse, Shams ad-Din Muhammad al-Harrani Jami Bijan fi Tafsir al-Quran is a source, says, the Sabians, those who departed from one religion to another religion, stood between the Magians and the Jews and the Christians without having any revealed religion of their own. According to some, they were people of the book. According to others, they were the worshippers of angels. Well, how many Jews and Christians worship angels and saints and all sorts of stuff, so that's not as distinctive as people think. But there being an origin in some revelation somewhere was the general thought. They believed in one God, but followed no prophet. A lot of people say they follow a prophet, but they don't follow a prophet, so it makes some difference, I guess. This same commentator on Surah 5:8-73 says, the Sabians were a Christian sect. Some say that they were worshippers of angels, others assert that they worshiped God alone, but had no revealed religion. On the same verse, Samakshari remarks, the Sabians were those who departed from all religions. Now, what Muhammad Ash-Shahrastani really means by the Sabians of the Quran, I'm unable to state. In his general discussion of Sabianism, however, he seems to speak of the two main Sabian sects. He refers to one together with the ancient philosophers and declares that the Sabians followed rational ordinances and judgments which originally they may have derived from some prophetic authority, but that they denied all prophecy. Or, no, that's not quite it either. Maybe they didn't really have a link to prophetic tradition guiding them per se. They were guided by their own interpretations and tried to make prophecies. A lot of that went on. The philosophers followed their own devices and took their system from no prophetic source. The authority we are quoting calls this sect the original Sabian sect and says that it followed Seth and Enoch. I wonder if any Yezidi use Enochian magic. In another place, he writes, the Jews and Christians follow a revealed book. Well, revealed books being in their books in some quantity, unknown quantity. They don't even know. The Magians and the Manichaeans, a like book, the original Sabian sect, ordinances and judgments, but accepts no book. The original philosophers, the atheists, the star worshippers, and the idol worshippers, and the Brahmins believe in none of these. The other Sabian sect is mentioned together with the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims. The difference between these religious bodies, according to Ash-Shahrastani, is that the Sabians do not follow the law of God or Islam, Shariatullah, it's the law of God. Shariat is, one's preferred system of law. So everybody's going to use the word Sharia. The Christians and the Jews believe in these, but do not accept the law of Muhammad, while al-Muslimin believe in them all. Well, believing in the original is the belief, not the kosher, and not the changes made by the various priesthoods. Ash-Shahrastani, moreover, derives the name Sabian from a root meaning one who turns aside, deviates, and declares that the Sabians were those who turned aside from the statutes of God and deviated from the path of the prophets. He seems to regard the notion that man is incapable of approaching God, and therefore he is in constant need of intercessors and mediators, as a controlling idea in Sabianism. This belief, the writer points out, has manifested itself in three different forms: the veneration of angels among what he calls the followers of angels, the adoration of stars among the followers of stars, and the worship of idols among the followers of idols. The last two, we are told, are polytheist and referred to in the Quranic statement. When Abraham said to his father, Azar, dost thou take idols for gods? Surah 6:74, said he, Abraham, do you serve what you hew out? Surah 37:93, when he, Abraham, said to his father, O my sir, why dost thou worship what can neither hear nor see, nor avail thee aught? Surah 19:43. And if we... Now, the English use of the word angel, there's some issues because, of course, we can be talking about jinn. Or even humans sometimes. So that would be it. The the jinn, the using of the stellar bodies, and other such things, the idols, the peacock idol, which goes a lot further back than people are typically going to tell you about the Yezidi sect, but we'll leave that for the time being. And the following references: and when the night overshadowed him, he saw a star and said, This is my Lord. When he saw the moon beginning to rise, he said, This is my Lord. And when he saw the sun beginning to rise, he said, This is my Lord. This is the greatest of all. Surah 6, 76, 77, 78. Now, the verse before that and the verse after that makes clear that he's questioning. It's like planet shows up, and Sirius shows up, and then a planet shows up, and then the moon, and then the sun, and that sort of thing. Well, it says a star, but the word is used for like planets too. But see, through these 3 stages, he questioned his people. But he was already shown the mystery. It says he was already shown the mystery. So it's not like he was exploring here. He knew the mystery. So these weren't the Lord. He was just asking these people, trying to get them to think. But Muhammad Ash-Shahrastani makes mention of another Sabian sect, which he names Al-Karbaniya. Its distinctive feature, he says, is the belief that the Creator indwelleth in other beings. They held that God is one in his essence, but many in his appearances. He dwells in the 7 planets, and in the earthly beings that are rational, good, and excellent in righteousness. The human body is his temple. He may abide within it and live and move as a man. He's too good, we read, to create anything evil. God is the source of good and evil, and is either an accidental, an unnecessary thing, or related to the evil source. They believed also, our authority informs us, the transmigration of souls, and taught that the resurrection of which the prophets had spoken was the end of one generation and the beginning of another here on earth. This doctrine, al-Muslimin critics affirm. It's alluded to in some passages. And let me remind you that in Islam there is no pantheon. There's creations believed to exist, and that's it. And evil isn't created, evil is chosen, much like in the dogma of Ingramanu, the Church of Ottoman, and same thing, and various other modern and ancient groups will tell you that it wasn't that Iblis, Shaitan, Malak Ta'us, whatever you want to call this being, was evil because it was created to be evil. It is evil because it chose such. And in other ways of speaking, this would be the righteousness of Satan. People are going to say that, but, this is the belief. I want to represent that. Surah 23, 37 through 39, does he promise you that when you are dead and you have become dust and bones, that then you will be brought forth away with what you are promised? This is only our life in this world. We die and we live, and we shall not be raised. And I'm going to have to